Chelsea make an official offer for Jadon Sancho, with talks still of a permanent transfer. Manchester United are exploring signing Chelsea midfielder Chukwuemeka. Antony shock loan to Real Betis. What's happened there? And Lindelof is set to stay. This plus all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news that will keep you right up to date with everything. Welcome to Man United Review. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, please smash a like on the video. Let's jump straight into it. So loads going on today. Transfer deadline day. We've had loads of noise, loads of stories. Obviously, at the time of recording this video, there's still 6 hours to go in the transfer window, so anything could change. So I would say take some of these stories I'm going to go through today with a pinch of salt, because this is just the latest as I'm recording. And obviously, things could change, deals could fall through, deals could change, and so on and so forth. But I'm just going to go through everything that's been mentioned so far as of up till now from today. So firstly, Dan Ashworth has said, this is from Mike Keegan from the Daily Mail. Dan Ashworth was in Monaco. It was for the Europa League draw, and he gave like a bit of an interview. So Mike Keegan firstly said he's just grabbed Dan Ashworth, and Ashworth said, I had a few missed calls in the draw. I kept getting nudged from Sir Dave Brailsford. My phone was vibrating. Let's see what happens. This window is still open. We've got some conversations going on. And then he was later done an interview where he said there was still a few hours to go. Who knows what will happen in the last few hours, but we are very pleased with what we have done. Ten Hag himself at a press conference again as well today, where he was asked about transfers. He said when he was asked about other players other than Ugarte, he said other players after Ugarte, everything has already been said. We are always attentive to opportunities to have the best possible group. So both suggesting that there might be some kind of late deals, which we're going to run through today. So let's go through. So firstly, Sam C was saying, as it stands, Victor Lindelof looks increasingly likely to stay at Manchester United this window. He is injured. We've been reporting that for the last few weeks regarding his injury. So he looks likely to stay. Not the end of the world for me. It's, he's not a first teamer. He's not a player that I think is massively on the list to get rid of. He's a top professional. He can do a job in the team, could provide cover at left back, although I don't think he's necessarily the best there, so it's not the end of the world. We weren't going to get a fantastic amount for Lindelof anyway, and he's in the last year of his contract, so it's just a stopgap. Keep him there. He might do a job if we have an injury crisis, but it looks like he's likely to stay at the time of recording this video. Next story is regarding Obi Martin and Lascelles. So Manchester United is still awaiting Premier League ratification of moves for Samuel Lascelles and Chido Obi Martin. In the case of Chibu Obi Martin, it usually takes 6 weeks for transfers between two Category 1 clubs to be processed. So that was Richard Fay. But obviously these are young players, so it doesn't matter about transfer deadline day regarding those two. Jack Talbot said earlier reports suggesting Manchester United face potential legal hurdles in signing Chido Obi Martin on wide of the mark. They are just waiting on final Premier League approval for the transfer, part of standard procedure. Now that came out because there were loads of rumours going around online that apparently United were going to have to go to court to get the Obi Martin deal done, and all these kind of BS rumours going around on social media, but that's not the case. It's just standard. They're waiting to get all the Premier League approvals for both players, but there's not expected to be any issues with those. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. Now, obviously, the hot topic of the day is Jadon Sancho. He's the one that looks like it might be our last possible deal. As it stands at the time of recording this video. So let's go through everything that's been said so far regarding Sancho. So Jacob Steinberg, he's the one that reported all the Erik ten Hag sacking, but quite credible when it comes to Chelsea news, said that Jadon Sancho could still join Chelsea without a player heading in the opposite direction. Sky Sports have said ideally Chelsea need to offload players, with Raheem Sterling one of a number of players being offered to clubs. While United remain open to the idea of Sterling joining, they are not actively pursuing him. Their focus is on Sancho, and they don't need to replace him if he wants to leave. Then we had Sky Sports also saying that Chelsea are edging closer to an agreement with Manchester United over the signing of Jadon Sancho. After further talks, permanent and loan options are still on the table. Fabrizio Romano then said that Jadon Sancho gives total green light to Chelsea move. He's keen on joining the Chelsea project. Talks are taking place between Chelsea and Man United. Deal currently on. Sky Sports Cave said Raheem Sterling will likely be staying at Chelsea or joining Arsenal today. Chelsea are edging closer to an agreement with Manchester United over the signing of Jadon Sancho. Just on Raheem Sterling, the kind of it's believed that Arsenal were ahead of United regarding that, and that United are not really pushing for that particular deal at the time of recording this video. So it looks like it's unlikely we're going to get Sterling. It's actually looking likely Sterling could possibly stay at Chelsea as I'm kind of doing this vid. So we'll have to obviously keep an eye on that. Things could change at any moment. Obviously, it is the transfer window, but as it stands, it doesn't look like there's much in the Raheem Sterling to Man United news. That might be good. That might be bad news. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. And then Fabrizio Romano said, Chelsea submit official bid to Manchester United for Jadon Sancho. It's an initial loan proposal, similar to terms offered by Juventus, but total package is higher. So remember, I bought news yesterday, Juventus had offered between, I think it was 7 to 8 million euros as a loan fee for Jadon Sancho. Alex Crook from TalkSport said Manchester United are now willing to listen to loan offers for Jadon Sancho. Chelsea are the most advanced club. Then we had the man, the myth, the legend himself, David Ornstein, saying that Chelsea expect to strike a deal with Manchester United to sign Jadon Sancho before the transfer window closes. No formal agreements in place yet, but situation advanced in that way. Man United winger wants to complete proposed Chelsea move. Romano also said that negotiations between Chelsea and Manchester United over a deadline day transfer of Jadon Sancho, centre on initial loan with obligation to buy next summer, would provide permanent solution for the 24-year-old sort. Chelsea and Man United are discussing the obligationary figure, and that's the kind of key. United have been wanting either a permanent deal or a obligation to buy, and I think the latest as sat here right now is that the talk of the town is that they're working on what will trigger. So it might be an initial loan with an option to buy, but then there'll be triggers that if Sancho or Chelsea, if they hit those triggers, like certain appearances or so many goals or so many assists or whatever, then Chelsea would the loan would flip to like an obligation to buy. That's the kind of sort of deal that we're looking at. But according to those reports, Chelsea are going to be offering more than the 7 to 8 million euros that Juventus were offering, plus an obligation to buy. There's no way. I think Chelsea are pushing really hard for this deal. So unless anything major happens, I think this will be one that potentially goes through. Maybe even towards the end of the deadline, because apparently they are still negotiating what type of loan deal, the obligation fee, and all of these things as I'm sat recording this video. So we'll need to wait and see, obviously, what happens with Jadon Sancho, but it is looking likely he's going to be going to Chelsea. But as it stands at the moment, it doesn't look like there's going to involve any kind of player swaps. It's just Chelsea are going to either just loan him with an obligation to buy or potentially buy him, because Sky have come out saying Chelsea ideally want to sign Jadon Sancho on a permanent deal, which would be absolute insanity. Great for us because it's not a player that we then have to talk about. If they could get the permanent deal, obviously it doesn't help us now because the transfer window is effectively closing in a few hours. So it's not like we can use that money to go and get any other players or anything in. But it would help maybe stash some cash for January potentially if we needed an emergency left back. Obviously, depending on Shaw's injuries and Malasia's injuries, that could be a potential, or a midfielder, depending on how Casemiro picks up, and so on and so forth. So there could be So it is looking likely as it stands. Sancho to Chelsea. Erik ten Hag himself, interestingly, in his press conference, when asked about Sancho, said he's our player and we're happy with him. We need depth because we need to play a lot of games and we need options. So ten Hag wasn't really giving much away in his press conference, but he's not going to give much away when it comes to transfers on deadline day, because that will just absolutely ruin any potential deals and ruin our bargaining power as well when it comes to that. But let me know what you think about Sancho to Chelsea. It's looking very likely. Obviously, things could change. Can't see into the future, so I don't know exactly what's going down, but it is looking very, very likely at the time I'm recording this video. But let me know what you think about Sancho to Chelsea in the comments. And just on Sterling, Sky Sports said Raheem Sterling will likely be staying at Chelsea or joining Arsenal today. Chelsea are edging closer to an agreement with Manchester United over the signing of Jadon Sancho. So again, I did mention this just a second ago. it's looking likely at this stage that United are not in for Sterling. There's not that many kind of rumours regarding talks or anything along those lines as it stands at the moment. So, but obviously we'll keep an eye on it and see what happens towards the end of the window. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. And then Chukwuemeka. So this was a player, I did mention this the other day, and I think a lot of United fans online and stuff have all thrown this player in the mix. When we were linked with the Sancho kind of Sterling move, this is a player that I would definitely have swapped for Sancho. And Sky Sports are claiming that Manchester United have explored the possibility of signing Carney Chukwuemeka in a separate deal to Jadon Sancho. And then Chris Class, who writes for The Times, who's quite a credible source, said that Chelsea have offered Carney Chukwuemeka as part of negotiation for Jadon Sancho, but United are unlikely to accept. Apparently, they don't want any kind of swap deal. They want two separate deals because it helps with the PSR rules. So one to keep an eye on for the end of the transfer window. But again, there's not that many heavy links with anyone really coming into United. It just seems like Sancho is the main talk of the town. There might be a late swoop for a couple of our other players, but there's no real, normally you'd have Eriksen flying to Holland to complete his medical to sign for Ajax, and there's none of that really going on. It's just really a lot of the noise today is regarding Sancho. And as Dan Ashworth said in the kind of news I brought you earlier, they're really happy with the business that they've done. So I don't think United are scrambling around for last minute deals. It looks like they're comfortable with what they've got. Yes, they might want to move on Sancho, but they've thought about these things. We're not doing what we would have done in the past and panicked on this day thinking, oh, well, we haven't bought a midfielder or we haven't bought a winger. Let's go out and grab what we can and throw loads of money around. They're not doing that, it seems, at the minute, which I actually think's good. I actually think it's good. It's transfer deadline day is exciting to see what's going on and watch, and I will be staying up late to obviously watch the kind of closing and see what's happening. Who knows? There could be a surprise signing that we're just totally unaware of that could come into United. But it's nice that we're not scrambling for these late deals. Yes, we would, in my opinion, I would like another winger if Sancho goes, or another striker. I know some of you in the comments are concerned about goal scoring and getting another striker in. I share those concerns. Or a left back is my kind of area of concern at the minute as well. Maybe another midfielder. Do you know what I mean? But it's nice that actually we're not in that position where we're scrambling for those, and we can just sit back and kind of watch and relax and see what's kind of going on around the rest of football. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. And then we did get, so this is the sort of day there's been a lot of this going on. So Alfredo Badula said that Manchester United have interest in Lille winger Edon Zhegrova. Any deal in the final hours will depend on Lille's demand for him. And then literally about half an hour later, Fabrizio Romano said Lille will not sell Edon Zhegrova today. Position clear despite links with Manchester United. So it's been that sort of bitty day where there's been a few, links with the players coming in or going out, and then pretty much dismissed by more credible sources later on, like this one I'm going to bring to you. So the story come from Simon Jones in the Mail saying Antony and Christian Eriksen have emerged as loan targets for Real Betis, which I thought would have been actually a pretty decent option and a decent shout. Not that I think loaning Antony out solves any of our problems, especially if we're going to get let Sancho leave as well. But then I was thinking at the time that story came out, we were still umming and ahhing about Sterling, and I was like, oh, are we going to get rid of Sancho, loan Antony out, bring Sterling in? That wouldn't have been a bad shout. But again, Fabrizio Romano squashed that rumor pretty much instantly, saying Antony to Real Betis on loan is not happening. He wants to stay at Manchester United. Boo. I mean, he's got a point to prove, and I can't fault Anthony's attitude on that, actually. Do you know what I mean? He is one player. At least he wants to play for the club, and he might not have the quality, or he might not have the form, and but at least his attitude's right. Do you know what I mean? When it comes to wanting to play and wanting to fight for his place, do you know what I mean? Rather than throwing his toys out of his prams, putting stuff on social media, and then, pretty much dissing the club. I just don't think he's that good, Anthony, but he might prove me wrong. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. And then the worrying thing, actually, is the Ugarte deal. So that's still not been announced. So he's missed the deadline. So he's not going to play against Liverpool at the weekend. Apparently United are quite relaxed about that. But the Sky was saying that Manuel Ugarte will not be available for Sunday. The registration deadline is passed. He's still not been announced at the time of recording this video. Samuel Lucker said United believed he would not have been ready to start or play a significant role due to his lack of game time during pre-season. But Samuel Lucker this morning said that he's expected to be on the bench. So I don't know quite what's happened with Samuel Luckhurst today. Ben Jacobs said Manuel Ugarte will not be registered in time for Liverpool on Sunday. Manchester United are in no rush to meet the deadline since Ugarte isn't ready to start or feature heavily. There's not expected to be any issues with Ugarte. I don't know what's taking so long, why they haven't announced it, unless United just ironing out dotting all the I's, crossing all the T's, ironing out all the creases regarding the deals. Apparently there's not going to be an issue with Scott McTominay, but I think it's going to coincide because obviously it's not to do with the funds. Apparently Napoli do have the funds to still get McTominay, because there's this whole kind of rumor going on that if Osimhen stays at Napoli won't have the funds to buy McTominay, which means we won't then have the funds to buy Ugarte. Apparently that's not the case. Apparently Napoli still have the money to get Scott McTominay regardless of what happens with Osimhen, which is positive because there is a concern. Obviously at the time I'm sat here, looking in my camera, recording this video, he still hasn't been officially announced. So there is a little bit of a concern, but apparently it's nothing to panic about. But we'll have to wait and see what happens regarding that. Now I am just going to double check to see if there's been any news coming out, because it has literally been quite frantic. Not as frantic as I was expecting though. For deadline day, but again, I think United are quite calm. I think we've done a lot of our business early, so we're not in a position where thankfully we're scrambling around. Yes, it would be nice to get additions to the squad, as I've just mentioned, but we've done a majority of our business, I think, and we've done it quite well. I'm going to do like a summary of all the deals once deadline day closes, and kind of and discuss obviously the players that have left, the players that have come in. So I think they've done a really good job so far this window, but I can't see anything breaking as of now. So I'm going to wrap the video up there. So that's you all up to date with the latest Manchester United news. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. I do enjoy reading them. Smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.